Hello there, how are you doing? Hope all is well. Now, as I'm recording this, Donald Trump's trade tariffs are coming into effect. We are essentially at the beginning of a new technology-focused, to a significant degree, trade war. If you've been reading the news, and I'm sure if you've been reading the news, you're probably shaking your head thinking, what is going on with the world? But Trump has imposed tariffs against the likes of Canada, Mexico, EU is coming to, China, of course, not a surprise. And a lot of this is really to make sure that the US gets to impose its goods, its services on jurisdictions around the world. If people are charging taxes or limiting in any way that American services being used, Trump's going to try and penalize them. This is really, in my view, a way to retain dominance. I'm not sure whether he's focusing entirely on the tech sector, but it certainly will be relevant to the technology sector. Now, what we're seeing at the moment, I'm going to talk a lot about AI in this video, once again, I suppose, is that there is a real race now, an AI race, an arms race, a race to build the most effective, probably the most, not just effective, but most economical, cheapest and easy to use AI platform, knowing that essentially whoever builds the greatest AI platform will probably rule the world. Sounds a bit like something out of the Terminator again, doesn't it? Building Skynet, but it does seem that all of the big technology companies, again mainly focused on the US, but also coming out of China and other jurisdictions too, but it seems that US and China is dominating, really want their AI to really lead the world. The view seems to be that any country, any state which can become a leader in AI will become a world leader. And frankly, I have to agree with this. AI is very much taking over. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. So two things I want to talk about. First one is what this means in terms of the data that's being used to train AI. Now, if you're using any social media platform, be it LinkedIn, it's probably where I first really discovered this is a real problem, but Meta, Instagram, pretty much any platform, it doesn't have to be social media. In fact, you might want to check where there are settings in place where you're allowing your data that you're contributing to this social media platform to be used not just to sell you advertising, and it surely will be, or use you in advertising, but also to train AI bots, train the AI that the company is producing. All of our data now is seen as a very valuable resource, a very interesting way and a very cheap way, because most of us seem to give it up for free, to really train AI to produce more reliable responses, to produce more believable outputs, to essentially produce content that would normally be produced by people. The amount of books that I've now seen that are being written predominantly with AI that people seem to be trying to sell on Amazon, and I've seen guides on how to write 5 books a day using AI. I'm sure those books are great. I'm really sure they're going to win the Booker Prize. Maybe they will, who knows. A lot of this is going on at the moment because it seems like there's a race really to embrace AI in all factors. And I don't really know what it's going to do to people, whether suddenly people will find that everything's produced by AI and nobody actually has or owns or produces anything themselves anymore. Now, there's been a stand on this in the UK, as in other jurisdictions. There have been rules put in place, laws being discussed of how to train AI, what material can be used to train AI, whether you should be allowed to use copyrighted material in order to train AI platforms. Disney, for example, is thinking, well, why would I want some of our most valuable IP to suddenly be creatable by anyone, used by AI to create lookalikes or films or things that essentially infringe our copyright? And one of the things that's really interested me, as being a big music fan, as you can probably tell from the amount of records I've here, is that a bunch of artists around the world, but this has really been heard in the UK, have put together an album just of silence. So it's an album that just features recordings of recording studios, of concert halls, with no music being played whatsoever. It's almost like as if there's nothing there, to show the effect that AI could have on the creative industry. You remember when, well, for example, the last Beatles release, was they used AI to recreate some recordings from John Lennon to basically do a new Beatles single, which did quite well in the charts. But it's possible to use AI, essentially use AI with all it's been trained on, to create new recordings by a number of artists. It's very easy to replicate someone's voice. The concern from the likes of Kate Bush, Damon Albarn, Tori Amos, a lot of my favorite artists, is that surely these is going to essentially push artists out of business. Think of the effect that if you're trying to get ahead in the music industry, if you're trying to build a career as a musician, how difficult it is at the moment. You're not going to make much money because Spotify, which is the leading platform still in terms of how people listen to music, they pay very little to their creators, particularly new creators. But also the fact that then AI can go and produce any music that you want anyway, why would you then hire an artist to do it? Are we going to a point where we're sort of post-music? Music isn't created by people, it's just created by robots. is a worry. So it's interesting. I make sure that you see a picture of the album. It's been sent to the government, basically saying what happens if nobody has any incentive to build anything anymore because it's built by AI. And that's a real issue. This is a real concern for me because obviously I always feel like music should come from the soul. It should be something that people create, people do because they're trying to show them an emotion, something that inspires you, not something that's just created by a robot. But I'm sure people won't agree with that. We'll see. So that's an interesting fact. But it brings into light another element I want to talk about. Now, AI companies, the AI leaders are very much the leaders who we saw in terms of leading, in terms of producing technology platforms, AI solutions, and in many ways, the people who were lining up at Trump's inauguration. Donald Trump, and particularly Elon Musk as well, is probably a leader in terms of not just AI development, but in general of doing all sorts of interesting technology things, but sometimes with nefarious purposes. He does come across a little bit like a Bond villain at times, which is a bit of a worry. Has shown that they really want to make their companies dominant. If you think about it, I've said this a bit before in a video, some of the companies that do get behind Donald Trump, whether they're forced to or they really want to, are the likes of Google, the likes of Meta, the likes of Amazon. They're very much in a position where they control and dominate most of the communication platforms, a lot of the shopping platforms, a lot of the things we use in our day-to-day life, and they are embracing AI. Problem is, are we coming to a place now we are being ruled by this sort of elite, this, I was going to call it a technocracy, like technology and democracy, but it's not, it's a technogarchy. We've got very, very senior people essentially using AI to manipulate what we do and how we live. Is it we're coming to the point where actually, I made fun of this, so there's no way that the human race could become obsolete and replaced by AI, but are we in a position where we have very powerful people now pushing in that direction? I don't know. What we haven't seen, we've seen the AI Act coming out of the EU, which frankly possibly came out too soon. It wasn't really prepared for the sort of post-AI, post-copyright issue, post not really knowing how prevalent AI platforms, particularly generative AI, would be. It's not really built for that. We don't really have any regulation in place to protect intellectual property properly, other than existing copyright laws, which don't seem to be fit for purpose given government's wishes to allow that material to be used to train AI. We don't really have anything in place to protect the creative industries, or really to protect the data, our data, from being misused in terms of AI platforms. Our personal data was used basically to build social media. There's no doubt about that, and most of us consented willingly to that because nobody realized what they were doing. The same thing is happening now with AI. People are using it, not realizing that every bit of data that they give to an AI platform is being used to train it, not realizing that everything they put on the internet is probably being used to train it, not knowing that essentially we are providing all of this material, the person is providing for no benefit other than perhaps the ability to use an AI platform, but often not even that, for free, which is making these companies very rich and very, very powerful. Now, normally I'd say, well, this isn't a big deal, but I've been reading a lot of William Gibson lately and a lot of dystopian sci-fi fiction, and it feels like we're going down that route. I'm interested to see what's going to happen next, but also a little bit concerned as to how it's going to play out. We are seeing a lot of strong men. We are seeing a rather fractious world. There's more wars going on at the moment, it seems, all the time. We are seeing a place where most of the continents in the world have got some sort of unrest or upheaval going on. It really does make me think quite nervously about how AI is going to play a role in this. But I'm interested in what you think. I am of the view that we need some controls. I fear now that normally I'm quite in favour of technology coming out and revolutionising things and the general way that things work. But now I feel we do need some protectionism in terms of the legislation and really protecting individuals, creatives, anyone who relies on something that isn't just purely typing something into an AI and just reaping the benefits of that. Otherwise, we're going to lose our creative industries, which will be a disaster. We may also lose a lot of innovation. If everything's being created by AI models, yes, sure, AI could be innovating itself, but is it really innovation? Is it really coming from the human brain? Is it coming from the human spirit, the human will? I don't know. Anyway, a bit philosophical. Very interesting in your views. Do you essentially use AI? Are you happy for it to essentially harvest your information? Were you happy when social media was harvesting your information? Or are you actually thinking, well, I might go and live in a bunker somewhere? This place for a studio, sadly, is not a bunker. I don't think I'm safe in the event of either a zombie apocalypse or an AI overlord taking over, but there we are. But I'm interested in what you think. The problem we've got, the thing that I can see an issue is that we are so now determined to be dominant in AI, every jurisdiction wants this, that they will happily give up personal data issues, things relating to copyright, and they may even give up some of the liberties we take for granted as a result. And certainly if we've got some very strong, strong men, it seems to be the thing that we have a lot of at the moment in politics. And strong men don't seem to really look after what's going on in the world. Too often these strong men are just protecting their own interests rather than actually thinking what's good for society and what would make a great technology future, rather than what I called before a technogarchy. Anyway, that's it for now. Purely observation. Still waiting to do my critical infrastructure talk because we still haven't got the bill passed. I'm doing a talk on the bill rather than the ordinance soon, but that will be coming soon. But let me know what you think. I'll do a follow-up video on this because I'm interested to see how this all plays out. This new arms race, this new AI arms race, which I predicted was going to happen a while ago, seems to have taken on a slightly sinister view of the world. But who knows? Maybe I've just been watching too much sci-fi or reading too much sci-fi or playing too many sci-fi video games. But maybe I haven't. Maybe we're in for a very bumpy, very interesting 2025, which still to me sounds like the far future. But there we go. On that positive note, don't have nightmares. Have a good one, and I'll see you soon. Take care.